The reality is Eddie Howe completely outclassed Michael Carrick in the tactical battle between Manchester United and Newcastle, from easily playing through and around Manchester United's 4-4-2 press, finding the overloads in midfield, and forcing Manchester United to go long consistently in build-up without any success. We are going to break it down all here today in this video. It is Newcastle 2, Manchester United 1. So as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, it was, in my opinion anyways, a tactical masterclass by Eddie Howe and by Newcastle. And I think this game exposed a lot of Manchester United's flaws, both in and out of possession. But for the beginning of this video anyways, I want to talk a little bit about United's out of possession challenges. So in United's game against Crystal Palace, I spoke about how Bruno Fernandes was playing on the left side of the 4-4-2 in that midfield position, probably to track the runs of Daniel Munoz. We know he likes to get forward. In this game, Michael Carrick opted to go with Matheus Cunha on the left side and Bumo on the right side, Casemiro and Kobe in the midfield, and then Bruno and Sesko as the two number 9s in a 4-4-2 shape out of possession. And really, in this first picture here, you can see the problems that it was causing Manchester United. A lot of times what was happening was Kobe was looking to jump and press Sandro Tonali because Bruno and Sesko were responsible for Thiaw and for Burn, which was oftentimes leaving Casemiro quite isolated with Joelinton and with Ramsey picking up really good advanced positions. Matheus Cunha, not necessarily the best defender, and you can just see the amount of space here for them to get the ball into Tonali, get the ball out wide to Trippier, and then Alanga's one-on-one with Luke Shaw. And that's exactly what they did. You can see there's a ton of space for Trippier to run into. There's even a ton of space for Joelinton to play that ball through. Cunha's not doing his job in terms of shadowing that pass to be able to go in behind. It's a pretty easy ball for Joelinton, and just like that, Newcastle progressed the ball. Again, this is my biggest concern with the current shape and the profile of Manchester United. And I know a lot of people were saying that they weren't happy with the 3-back or the 5-back, whichever way you look at it. But even with the 4-4-2, Newcastle were causing Manchester United a ton of problems. So Kobe is obviously a more forward-minded player. He wants to jump up in the press. He wants to be a little bit more front-footed, if you will. And that's kind of where the challenges can start for Manchester United, especially in a midfield too, with a Casemiro who isn't exactly the most mobile. You can see here, Kobe gets pulled apart, and just look at the distances between Kobe and Cas. There is just a ton of space. You can see Tonali at the bottom of the screen. Gordon was doing a really good job, in my opinion, of kind of peeling off of Maguire. We know that Maguire doesn't necessarily love to jump in because he doesn't have the foot speed if a ball gets played in behind. And then Joelinton here just playing in that space right in front of Mazraoui. And I thought that these little combinations that Newcastle were playing were causing United a lot of issues. In the same passage of play, Kobe has now jumped. Now Casemiro has to engage Elanga because you don't want a player of Elanga's ability and speed to get on the turn, face you up and go towards goal. So Casemiro has to jump. It's an easy ball into Sandro Tonali. And then you see Joelinton as the free man here, and at the bottom of the screen as well, you see Barnes, and now Mazraoui has a decision to make. Do I jump to Joelinton if he gets the ball here from Tonali, or do I delay because that ball might go in behind to Barnes and that might be the more dangerous pass? And this all happened in the first 5-10 minutes of the game. Newcastle were completely pulling Manchester United apart in the midfield. Now, although I thought this was a really poor performance from Manchester United, I actually thought it was a really good performance from Newcastle, and I really liked the positions in which Ramsey was picking up. So he was very much floating. He had the license to kind of float wherever he wanted to, and again, just look at the distances between Casemiro and between Kobe. Kobe is looking to mark the run of Ramsey because Shaw has now gone and engaged, I believe that's Alanga, and he has to worry about him being able to, again, run at their back line because of the ability and the speed he has. Ramsey notices this, makes that run into the space, and you see Tonali is a free man here, but obviously Casemiro is going to want to jump to close that gap with Kobe, and then that can leave Joelinton as well as the free man. Again, you can see here, Gordon does a really good job of peeling off of Harry Maguire. Joelinton again picking up this space here. Kobe, look at the distances between Kobe and Cas. It's the spaces are way too large. Very reminiscent, in my opinion, of what it looked like. Obviously not to the extreme it was under Erik ten Hag, but you don't want those distances. When you're playing a midfield too, you don't want your midfielders that pulled apart. They were completely disjointed all game. And again, I think it's massive credit to Newcastle because I think that they were brilliant. I thought that they were the better team and deserved to win. And this was causing Manchester United a lot of problems. Ramsey around the ball, Tonali around the ball, Joelinton around the ball, Gordon around the ball, creating that diamond, creating overloads in central areas. And United, they could not cope. Again, here, this was the simplest way for me anyways when I was watching this game. United's press, from Newcastle's build-up, I think Carrick didn't really have any answers for what Eddie Howe and Newcastle were doing. And it's not that they were doing anything groundbreaking or something that we have never seen before, but United again had no answers. They went with that 4-4-2 shape. Sesko here, you can see jumping to Ramsdale. Bruno's obviously responsible for Dan Burn on this side, but you can just see the midfielder here drops into the space. And just like that, Newcastle are out. I mean, look at the distances and the gaps between the midfield and the strikers. It's very disjointed, very unorganized, and I think United struggled for the entire 90 to get any kind of real pressure on Newcastle's press, and I felt like it was just way too easy. Again, like I said in the beginning of the video, for Newcastle not only to play through Manchester United, but also to play around Manchester United. I felt like it was very disjointed, the gaps were way too big, and it was just really easy for Newcastle on the day. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about missed chances because I've spoken about it time and time again, how sometimes there are moments where your team isn't playing well, but you have the quality to carry you over the line. And Manchester United missed some really big chances in this game, and I just want to walk you through a few of them. So here, I thought Matheus Cunha did a much better job getting into those wide areas. I think that it was definitely a conversation that him and Carrick had, that he had to do a better job of holding width as a left attacker in a 4-2-3-1. He does a really good job here of getting on the inside of Kieran Trippier, gets the strike off on his weak foot, forces Ramsdale to parry, and I mean here, Mbeumo at least has to make Ramsdale work. He at least has to make Ramsdale make an incredible save, and he skies it. Next big chance, Bruno in this space. Again, I thought in the second half he was brilliant. He gives away the goal. We didn't even touch on the goals. It was a penalty, and then it was a set piece. We're not even going to analyze it. I was more so frustrated about United's overall performance. Again, Bruno here in this pocket of space. It's a great run from Mbeumo. It's even better ball from Bruno Fernandes. Finds him in this little pocket of space. And how he's not just swinging his foot around here. And again, making Ramsdale make a save. I don't understand. He delays. United don't get anything from it. Another massive chance missed. Again, Lenny Euro peels off the back. Completely unmarked. Bruno Fernandes has a little look up, a little dink over the top. It's a free header for Lenny Euro. He has to score. Again, it's a good save. Lenny Euro with the header down. It's a decent header, but in this area here, another chance, you have to score. And then the last one, this is another ball in from Bruno. Ugarte in this space gets a little bit under it. Maybe not the easiest chance, but in my opinion, still in this area as a professional footballer, you have to make the goalie work. And look, I know a lot of the conversation around the game-winning goal was that it was an incredible goal, and take nothing away from the goal because the bend on it is absolutely ridiculous. But I just want you to take a look at the body shape and the positioning of Malacia. And I know that there are going to be people who are going to say it's unfair to Malacia. He hasn't really played. And I actually agree. I think Michael Carrick should have brought on Aiden Heaven. I think he would have been way more comfortable in that left back spot. I think he's a player who, when he played on the left-hand side in a 3 for Ruben Amorim, was asked to cover a lot of ground and essentially oftentimes play as a left back. But Malacia comes on and look, if you're going to put on the shirt, you have a job to do. It's as simple as that. Regardless of how little minutes you've played, you have a job to do. Already, the hips here, they're all wrong. I don't know what he's doing. He should only be doing one thing here, which is forcing his opponent down the line. He should be showing him the line. The one thing he cannot do, he cannot let him inside, because you have to know that this guy's going to want to cut inside and have a strike. Now, I just want you to look at this. And again, I'm not even trying to be funny here, but how have we gone from this to this? And again, it's an incredible finish, but I just don't understand the defending. I don't understand how it's possible for you to end up in this position here from this position here. It was just really poor defending. Again, take nothing away from the goal. I thought Newcastle were great in the second half. Down a man the entire second half. They fully deserved the 3 points, but it was a really disappointing performance from Manchester United. Now, like I said, there were some massive issues in the game for me. A lot of cracks, in my opinion, are starting to show with the personnel. And obviously, Michael Carrick has had some really good performances as a manager during his short time here. But you can tell in this game, and I've said it in my previous videos, Manchester United are in dire need of Lisandro Martinez to return. And in the summer, if you're worried about Lisandro Martinez's ability to stay fit, you have to go and sign a ball-playing center half. Because the amount of times we saw Lemens from goal kicks, they were trying to target Trippier, but it wasn't working. United were getting no joy from these long goal kicks, and there was a lot of conversations when United were playing with the 3 that the build-up was no good because they were pushing a center half into midfield to play alongside another midfielder. I think this goes to show that even in a 4, if you don't have the right personnel to build, because Casemiro's not really a player who wants to get on the ball and drive forward. Kobe as well, but I think he really struggled with the physicality in this game of a Joelinton, of a Tonali, of a Ramsey. United really, I don't think they had the bravery to try and go short and try and build. But I don't know if it's only the bravery. I think it was probably an intelligent idea to go long, because I don't think that they have the profiles in the back line or in the midfield right now, as this team is currently put together, to be able to build like, we've seen Brighton do, like we've seen City do, so on and so forth. So the idea was to continue to try and target Trippier, get Sesko in this area here, and try and win second balls. But either the quality of the pass from Lemens wasn't great, to be fair, and I thought that, again, Newcastle did a really good job of defending. And then another big issue for Manchester United, like I spoke about in this game, was just the 4-4-2 shape when Manchester United were trying to defend against Newcastle's press. Tonali was dropping into this little space here. So Kobe was looking to jump to Sandro Tonali often, because it's a man-to-man press here. So you have Cunha and Mbeumo marking the fullbacks. You have Bruno and Sesko acting as the 2 9s to negate any passes to the center halves. So what was happening was Kobe was jumping to Tonali. Casemiro was kind of sitting here. So it is a man-to-man press, but because Maguire isn't the most comfortable kind of jumping into the space, I should have them swapped. Because Maguire isn't the most comfortable jumping into the space, what was happening was Gordon was dropping off, Joelinton was dropping off, Ramsey was jumping off, and then as soon as they broke the first line, which was quite easy, because they would go either to Burn, Thiaw, Trippier, or Hall, they would go play Joelinton into this space. The press wasn't really that good. Tonali has dragged Kobe out, and now it's Joelinton, Barnes, Gordon, and Casemiro is kind of left on an island alone because Kobe has jumped to Tonali. And then you have the runners, the speed, the pace, the power of Newcastle's front 3. And again, I think it was a tactical masterclass from Eddie Howe. I think he adapted in the second half. Obviously had to going down a man, and Michael Carrick and Manchester United, well, the reality is they had no answers. And look, it was never going to be perfect. Manchester United were not just ever going to ride into the sunset as third or second place. I had people telling me that they could catch City. Obviously, some jokes about them pushing Arsenal to the limit. I do think there are people who probably actually believe that. But, the idea was, hopefully now that Carrick's gone on this run, there's been a lot of positive reports. You're pushing for third. At least the minimum has to be Champions League. And it's not all doom and gloom, but I think that this was a wake-up call performance because, as I've said before on this channel in the last few games that we've analyzed together, I don't think that the last few performances have been good. I don't think we were good against West Ham. I don't think we were good against Crystal Palace. And I definitely don't think we were good against Newcastle. Carrick now needs to do his job, and he needs to find solutions. He needs to find a way from stopping Manchester United from getting overrun in midfield. He needs to find a way and get creative about creating wide overloads, because everything right now is very central. They're trying to combine in the pockets, and I completely understand that, because when you have profiles like Bruno, Kobe, and Cunha, Mbeumo, they want to combine in the pockets, but it's not really working right now. it's pretty easy to defend against. I think the physicality of this side is a massive issue as well. I think you saw Joelinton, Tonali, and Ramsey, their physicality, their pace and power completely dominated Manchester United's midfield. It was a complete mismatch. It was United would never look like they even had a sniff when it was in that midfield area. Newcastle were by far the more dominant side. And again, I think this performance starts to ask a lot of questions. United need many different profiles moving forward. They need a midfielder to play alongside Kobe. I don't think you need someone who's necessarily a volume passer. I think you need somebody who's going to eat up a lot of ground, who's good in the duels, who obviously can progress the ball and break the lines. For me, in my opinion, I know that there are links. I think you look at a Sandro Tonali. Elliot Anderson apparently is off the City. I think you look at a Bruno Guimaraes. I don't necessarily think that you go and you look at an Adam Morton, because I think next season, if you have an Adam Morton alongside a Kobe Mainu, you're going to have this exact same issue the entire season. You need runners. The Premier League is a league about the physicality. You need guys who can handle the physicality. Manchester United don't have it. Manchester United are lacking massively with a progressor at the back. Without Lissandro, like I've spoken about it, they're really struggling with build-up. Forced to go long, go to Sesko, win second balls. When you have Lissandro, we've seen how much of a difference he makes in the team. He finds Cunha's in the pocket. He finds Bruno in the pocket. He is a massive difference to what Manchester United have at their disposal without him. And then the width, again, is a massive issue. I think Mbeumo was poor again against Newcastle. I think Cunha had some moments, but as much as you try and force him to play as a winger, he is not a winger. He is an inside player. He likes to play in the channels. He can do a job. I don't think he can't play wing, but I think you really need to identify a player who can play on the left-hand side that can really stretch an opposition back line and force them to answer the question, do we allow them to go side to side, but they have a winger who can be really dangerous? Or do we let them play centrally with the dangerous players that they have in those pockets, like Cunha, like Bruno, like Kobe, so on and so forth. So it's not all doom and gloom. It's not the end of the world. United were going to lose a game under Michael Carrick. They were never going to go undefeated, if we're being completely honest. And I think on this channel, that's kind of the aim. We try to be as objective as possible. The sky is not falling, but there are some serious questions that need to be asked about this team in general, and there are some massive reinforcements that are needed going into next season if Manchester United are going to compete in Europe, hopefully in the Champions League, and continue to push on and get back to where they need to be. But we will have a bunch of time to answer all of those questions in the weeks and months coming. The season is flying by, but that is it for this one. As always, I really appreciate everybody who watches the content. Remember to leave a like if you like the video. Remember to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So if you enjoy the content, I would really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. Only if you enjoy the content, of course. But I will chat to you again very soon. Until next time, peace.